This live stream brought to you by the Excelsior Citizen and these generous sponsors. The Simmons Sales Team, your our Excelsior Springs Hospital, where better care is right in your backyard.
Whether we're talking about our dedication to preventing and restoring power outages, our pursuit of safety, or providing the best member experience possible, we are relentless in serving our communities.
Since 1974, Chuck Anderson Ford has proudly served the community's automotive needs. From new and pre-owned vehicles to parts and service, they've been there in the past and they'll be there in the future. Visit Chuck Anderson Ford today. Find out how you can advertise with Excelsior Springs #1.
The City Council of Excelsior Springs, Missouri. We begin with a Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a roll call of council members. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Could we have the city clerk deliver the roll call of council members, please?
Councilman McGovern?
Present.
Councilman Spear?
Yes.
Councilman Rennie?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem St. John?
Yes.
Mayor Spawn?
Yes. Tonight's agenda item is a hearing on the request for a reasonable accommodation submitted by Oxford House Incorporated concerning the property located at 21 Don Avenue. This request seeks relief from the city zoning regulations limiting the number of unrelated individuals who may reside together in a single household. The applicant is seeking permission to operate an Oxford house with up to 8 residents. The applicant and city staff have the right to be represented by counsel, to present evidence, to call witnesses, and to seek follow-up or clarifying questions. As this is a public hearing, members of the public may also speak. Plan on speaking, we request that you sign in ahead of time and list your name and your address. As we conduct this hearing, I realize that in situations like this, sometimes emotions can come into play. For that reason, I am requesting that our conversations and our responses remain respectful and void of any profanity. Testimony will be taken under oath or affirmation. A court reporter is here this evening to keep the record. The court reporter will administer the oath to all speakers. If either the applicant or the city wishes to submit written exhibits during the hearing, I ask that you first allow the other party an opportunity to review them before they are submitted. I may consult with the city's attorney who is seated next to me regarding how to handle any objections to submitted materials. At the conclusion of this hearing, the City Council will consider whether the requested accommodation is reasonable and necessary to afford equal housing opportunity to individuals with disabilities. We will begin with the applicant's presentation. Is there someone here this evening representing the applicant?
Good evening. Can you guys hear me? Good evening, Council. My name is Daniel Hahn. I'm a regional manager for Oxford House Incorporated. I supervise the field staff in Missouri, Oklahoma, and Nebraska, and the 350 homes that accompany it. I want to present...
I'm having trouble hearing you in the back. Lean into the microphone.
I can take it out if you'd like. Is that better? Can you hear back in the back better?
Can you hear?
I can hear you at all.
How about that? I don't know. It's
on.
Hello? It's not responding.
It's not working. Technical difficulty. Take 10.
Test.
There we go.
You'll have to hold it really close to your...
Okay. Can everybody hear me now? All right. So I want to start out, Mr. Mayor, correct? Mayor, you started the hearing with our request. I want to kind of give you guys a timeline from my perspective as a manager of the things that have happened and the process of this home opening. Members of the Kansas City, Missouri Oxford houses and the outreach worker from the area identified a need in Excelsior Springs, not only through the courts, probation and parole, and things for safe supportive housing for people in recovery. Upon that, the area was toured in March of 2024 with a potential landlord. The owners purchased the home in April of 2024. The members of Kansas City houses, trusted servants, elected officers, walked the house on 4/11/24 and discussed the layout, proper egress for legalities, and possibilities of depth in the room, square footage, allotted bathrooms, and the things that are required for a proper home. Contrary to social media and contrary to the things that have been going on, the owners of the home pulled permits for the fire damage repair with a permit signed on 4/24/24. The owners had the electrical permits pulled on 4/30/24. The electrical permit was signed for final inspection and passed on 5/28/24. The framing, basement, upstairs remodel, paint was passed and signed on 6/13/24. The rough-in and electrical inspection passed on 6/20/24. The plumbing inspection passed in May of 2024. The final walkthrough with chapter members was completed in July of 24. There was a total of 1,200 man-hours, all by licensed repairmen, on the home. Total money spent on the project was $75,000 purchase price for the home and $94,880 in remodel costs. All permits, inspection forms are included in these copies that I have here. There are copies of all of the inspection reports signed by the city of Excelsior Springs. The house was opened shortly thereafter that. It is a home chartered for 8 women with 2 spots for mother and child. Currently at this time there are 6 members and 2 children living in the home. Requirements for the home align with the Oxford House model and what Oxford House requires for the house to be chartered. The charter was granted shortly after its opening. I do have some concerns on my part that I want to go over, and I want to be available to ask any questions from respectable people about what we're trying to achieve over there. I am well aware there.
Yeah, your finger on the bottom is turning it on.
Is it on now? How about that? Okay. So I do also have a copy of the signed lease here as well between the owner and Oxford House vicinity. So as I shuffle through my papers here, I want to talk real briefly about the oversight to the home. The home belongs to a chapter in Missouri with in Kansas City, Missouri, with approximately 15 other houses. There is oversight there as far as the requirements to live in there. There are regular tours in the home by those chapter officers to make sure the house is functioning as it should. The 3 requirements for an Oxford house is that the house must operate democratically by the members, it must be financially self-supporting, and that any member that uses or drinks is immediately expelled from the membership of the home. Since the home's been open, there's been 2 incidences that were on us. One, during a snowstorm, a girl made a bad decision and didn't want to wake up a lady that had come home from work, so she backed her out in the snow around the telephone pole and was in the neighbor's yard. She was shortly thereafter evicted, and it wasn't evicted from membership, and I am unsure of what that cause was, but I don't believe it was because of that. But I do know there was a special meeting held to deal with that because the girls, quite frankly, have felt a little bit under siege. We are not perfect. We want to be good neighbors. But I've been alarmed after meeting with the members of this house. And this is written by the membership of the home, the house president. And it says this letter is to document that the members of the house at 21 Dawn Avenue have reported an incident on several occasions. Now, we've had the police called on us for backing around the telephone pole. Now, drug court officers have come by to make sure that Their participant is there, as they've said. There's been law enforcement come to the home, but not in any reason other to do a check on someone that was living there. Now, that is to the best of my abilities, and there are members that in the house that have been there since the day it opened, and that's what they have reported to us. So I met with them, and I was really shocked because we want to be good neighbors, humbly. We want to come in and make that house nice. That home is impeccably remodeled, and it's cleaner than the home I live in personally. All members are sober and currently working a self-help 12-step program or whatever their treatment program is required. And the mothers that are there are taking care of their children. And I was quite alarmed to walk into the house and sit and talk with the president. And they reported to me that the members across the street at 21 Dawn Avenue have had guests over who have stated discouraging comments to the members who reside at the house. The comments stated, "Hey, let me ruin your recovery." And catcalled and whistled at a member when she returned to her vehicle to return some items after the initial comment. Another female member of the house has also offered on second occasion to come over and have a cocktail by the neighbor. And then the member shook her head and went into the house. The young lady said it felt extremely uncomfortable, and when she shared it with the other members, they also felt uncomfortable and wondered why that gentleman would do such a thing to women in recovery. These ladies are trying to remain clean and sober for use of all substances, and this type of behavior is unacceptable in any community, let alone that address. On a good note, the neighbors from across the street came over and apologized for their guest. We want to be good neighbors. We want to help this community. We want to provide a safe place for mothers and also women in recovery who come to us in all kinds of conditions. It could be from abusive relationships, it could be from legal situations, or it could be that they just suffer from alcoholism or drug addiction, which is egalitarian. It affects everyone. So we are here to help. We're not here to fight, and we want to earn our right to be here. I come before you humbly. I do, however, as I fumble through my papers, on behalf of Oxford House vicinity, its residents, Oxford House Incorporated, the property owners, I am asking for a reasonable accommodation request pursuant to the Federal Fair Housing Act, 42 U.S.C. 3604 F3B, to the city of Excelsior Springs in requesting the following: a waiver on the limitations of the maximum number of unrelated persons who can reside together as a family under the city's definition of family, and equal treatment in the city's single-family zoning laws that apply to group homes. And to cut that off, Missouri has a law on the books that if you operate a group home and have 2 staff, you are immediately granted that accommodation. We are asking that accommodation as a single family based on the Federal Fair Housing Act, and that alcoholics and addicts are classified as disabled. We will work hard to make sure that we are a member of the community. Members are interviewed and accepted. It takes 80% of the members of the home to admit a new member, 51% to expel. Disruptive behavior, failure to pay equal expenses are the key things, are not paying your equal share. The house has its own bank account, it has utilities with the city, and is in good standing. I humbly ask for a reasonable accommodation. I've handed you my cards, and that's all I have. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Daniel. Do you have any witnesses you would like to call on behalf?
No, sir.
I would like to speak on behalf of someone from Oxford House.
Would you guys like to?
My sister is a product of Oxford
That
House.
will come during the public.
Okay, sorry.
Public involvement, yeah.
Okay.
We'll get there in a little bit.
Sorry.
I believe Daniel is submitting the written exhibits. Okay. Let's give them a few minutes to get the paperwork in order before we proceed. Mr. Miser, let me know when you're ready.
just a few questions, I think, for the applicant. That's all right. Is it okay if I ask those for you? Took a look at the lease real quickly here. So just to be clear, the landlord is Bay Community Properties LLC,
That is correct.
and the tenant is Oxford House Facility.
That is correct.
And I looked at the Missouri Secretary of State's website earlier today, trying to find something for an entity called Oxford House Vicinity. I didn't see anything there for a corporation or an LLC or a fictitious name. What is Oxford House Vicinity?
Oxford House is an independent nonprofit association. What validates it as such is we have a federal identification number that is for banking purposes only. Outside of that, we're a single family. So to acquire bank access or access to utilities, we have a federal EIN number, but that's the sole purpose of it.
And the lease lists the rent on it. Is that something I can say out loud here? Or would you
As a matter of fact, I would want to invite any of you to come to the house anytime. That's one of the things that's frustrating to us is that nobody's come to the door. It's a public place, you know, and we would invite anybody to come over there any time and see how those ladies are living. So absolutely. I mean, I'd love everybody to know what those girls in recovery by being employed are doing on their own.
Okay. So what I show here for the rent on I believe a monthly basis is $3,000. Is that right?
That's correct.
And I think you said you currently have 6 adults living in the house?
That's correct.
And so that's $500 a piece?
Well, what it comes to, the Oxford House, the house is financially self-supporting and all things in the home are paid for. So there's a weekly cost. The typical weekly equal expense, and that's what it's called. Each week, there's an equal expense paid, and each house has a weekly business meeting. So that weekly expense will vary depending on the number of members they have, but it's typically between $140 and $160 a week per person. And that money is in a shared bank account, and checks are written, audits are done, and that's how they pay their bills. And all expenditures in the home are voted on by the members. So they have a weekly parliamentary business meeting.
So the adult residents are contributing roughly $150 a week on average?
That's a ballpark average, yes, sir.
About $600 a month apiece.
Correct.
And that part of that goes to your $500 rent?
That pays the rent. Oxford House provides everything but hygiene and clothing and food. The laundry, soap, coffee, condiments, things like that are covered. That's all paid for by the house, whether they have lawn service, a swimming pool, whatever it is, the costs are centered around that.
And I heard you say earlier there were 2 incidents, and I wrote down one that someone had backed a car into a neighbor's yard.
Yes.
I didn't recall the second incident. What was that?
A young lady was expelled, and she had returned to use, and she was expelled by the home. She did not go to work the next day, and she was a valued employee at her job, and I believe it was in the restaurant field. And the restaurant called the police and requested that they do a welfare check at the house on the girl. And she no longer lived there when the police came, and they were notified of that she was no longer a member of the home.
Okay. And help me out with the eviction process here. If the landlord is Faith Community Properties LLC and the tenant is Oxford House Vicinity, it seems like, generally speaking, there's a court process to go through to evict someone from a home, or if there's an unlawful retainer, you can't just go in and throw it out. You have to go through the process with the court, and then the victim.
I can answer that. I apologize that I don't have it with me. If I had the time to dig it off my phone. When a new member is accepted, there's a federal statute in there that we don't fall under eviction laws, because with us being that nonprofit association, they're voted into a membership. So they're not actually evicted, they just lose membership.
And that allows you to remove them from the home?
Typically, in very rare occasion, removal is not part of what we do. What we usually do is what consistently happens is there a vote to expel based on whatever reason it is. It could be failure of equal expense, failure to make their payments, it could be disruptive behavior, or return to use. What makes that Oxford House vicinity is those three things are ironclad. No one is allowed to stay in the home after a use, so there's a vote taken. And if that vote passes to expel them from membership, then we typically work on ways, if it's someone that's returned to use, we're working on ways to find them a safe place, whether it's detox or treatment, make sure they're honoring their court requirements if they've had a slip up, and we typically don't have problems with that. That the people know when they come in that it's a zero tolerance.
What do you do if they refuse to leave?
I haven't had that. In 17 years, I've had someone refuse to leave, and within an hour or two, they realize that they're not a part of the membership, and they just go on their own. We haven't had those problems, and now that's not to say that it could occur. I pray that it doesn't. We have 4,000 houses across the country, so it works.
And since this particular property is open, what is the maximum number of residents who live there, counting adults and children?
The most that would be 10.
And currently,
Well, it could have been 11, I'm sorry, because one of the mothers had 2 children, and I'm speaking out of lack of knowledge. I'm just giving you max numbers.
currently it has 8.
No, it has six people and a mother with 2 children there.
So 6 includes the 2 children?
No, it would be a total of 8 humans.
Okay. And I guess that's what I was trying to figure out. When you say you want combination that 8 people in the home, is that 8 humans or is that 8 adults plus children?
What we're asking is for the membership in the home. So 8 members. The children are not voting members of the home. They are there. We provide accommodation for them within the room. They have their own bed, their own dresser, things like that. So that would not count against what we're asking.
So you're asking for 8 adults and potentially unlimited?
No, not unlimited. We only have 2 bedrooms in the home that will accompany children. The most children that could ever be in that home is 3, and I doubt very seriously we'll ever see that, because typically we have to make sure that each child is accommodated, safety concern and all that. So we do not put 8 mothers and 8 kids into the home. There's only 2 allotted membership spots for mom with child.
Just so I'm clear on what you're asking for, you're asking for 8 adults to be allowed to live in the home, plus whatever number of children that Oxford House deems reasonable.
Correct, which would be a maximum of 3 children in the home. And again, the chances of that being at that number over the course of time is slim. It would typically be 2 children, 8 moms.
Do you know how many square feet the total capacity of the living space is?
I could look that up, and I don't want to give information that's not correct. I'm guessing it's somewhere between 18 and 1,900 square feet total.
How many bedrooms are in the house right now?
6.
And so does each adult get their own bedroom?
There are shared rooms for the new members unless they have a child. It's based on seniority. The larger rooms will accommodate 1 person or 2 people, and those are for the new members, okay? And they're full-size beds. So typically what we want, and part of our model, is when a new member moves in, that they have a roommate. Now, based on seniority, they can work themselves into a single room eventually.
So basically, if you had 8 adult residents, you would have 4 people sharing 2 bedrooms.
Yes, yes, and but there's 2 closets, and they're set up for such a thing. It's not 2 full-size beds, 2 dressers, a TV, and typically in some of the rooms there, a bathroom accompanying it. Yes.
How many toilets are in the house?
4.
How many showers are in the
3.
And I think this was renovated from its original floor plan, so originally there was a garage that's now being converted to living.
Correct.
And there was a lower level, I guess, is adjacent.
Yes, and the landlord put in proper escape egress to make the rooms legal.
How many bedrooms were there in the house before the renovation?
I think it was 4 too, wasn't it? 5. 4. Yeah, I don't have that accurate. I'd have to pull my database up to give you precise answers.
And I don't want you to guess, so if you're relying on somebody.
I can pull if you allow me the time to pull my database up, I can tell you.
Okay.
I have 350 homes. I can't tell you the exact number. I've toured the home.
Sure. Right now, the way she's standing here, you don't have personal knowledge.
No.
Okay. No, that's right. And these adults, I take it each of them must have their own vehicle.
No. That's not required.
I understand it's not required, but the house kind of sits off in an area that's not next to, for example, 7-Eleven or something. So people probably have to have a car to get from one place to another.
Not all of them. No. If they help each other. It's communal living. They help each other.
How many people are there? How many vehicles are there in the house?
4 to 5. Would that be correct?
And again, if you don't know, you don't.
Yeah, 4 to 5. But there was a garage added with the driveway to that to help accompany that and relieve the traffic on the street. And that was done with the city as well.
And so, in terms of what Oxford House requires, this is a facility where people, this is not the first step for people. This is not where people would go to dry out, essentially, from.
Absolutely not.
There are groups in Excelsior Springs and the community, like Alcoholics Anonymous and Narcotics Anonymous.
Yes.
Do you know how many of those groups are in Excelsior Springs?
No.
Do you know how many are in?
I know one of the girls in the house started one of them. I know that much.
Do you know how many of those are in the Kansas City metropolitan area?
Hundreds.
And the people who are in the house, I mean, they have the same option any other citizen would have. They could go rent their own apartment somewhere. Right?
Absolutely.
Or 2 or 3 of them could get together and go rent a house somewhere else if they wanted to.
Absolutely. Everyone's there by free will.
And as far as the minimum number of people, I looked at some material online for Oxford House a little earlier today. And on their website, they have a 2023 annual report was the most recent one I could find. Are you familiar with their annual reports?
I don't have it memorized, but I'm aware of it.
Okay, you're aware that they put those out.
Absolutely.
On the second page, it says each Oxford house has a resident, an average of 8 residents, ranging from 6 to 16. Does that sound familiar at all?
16 does not, no. And that's typically by region. I mean, what different areas do. We typically try to stay between the 8 and 10 range.
And I focus more on the bottom number. It certainly appears from this annual report from 2023 that an Oxford house is viable with only 6 residents. Is that accurate?
No.
Okay. You don't
Depending on each resident, depending on what the rent is, how many people live there. that's going to change with what we pay as rent, just like any other family. If the rent's $3,000 and there's 6 people in the house, maybe they're able to pay, but it's probably in their best interest to have a prudent reserve.
But would you agree that there are some Oxford houses that have 6 residents as opposed to 8?
Well, Oxford House has a right to open, or not a right, but Oxford House opens houses anywhere from 6 to 12 individuals. That's our number, so of course.
Okay. So there are Oxford houses that exist with just 6 residents?
Very few.
Okay. But they exist?
If you say so.
Well, you're the...
I have 0 6-ins. So other areas may have them, but the areas I supervise do not.
And on page 10 of this 2023 annual report, where it talks about how Oxford houses work, and I apologize, I just got the one copy, but it says any group of 6 or more recovering persons can be granted a charter at no charge. Is that accurate?
Yes.
And I think you may have said that the initial group of 6 people got the charter in this case.
No.
Okay. But the 6 people can be chartered for living in an
I think you're speaking about beds, not people.
Um,
Because the number of people in the home changes. That's the maximum number. So that house was started with the guidance of the other Oxford houses and 2 members that moved in that lived in other Oxford houses and had experience.
Yeah, I'm just reading from what's in the 2023 annual report. It says any group of 6 or more recovering persons can be granted a charter at no charge. Is that true?
There is no charge for a charter.
Okay. And 6 or more people can do it.
If that's 2 or more, 6 or more, however many people apply for it, and if the house is suitable and viable, then it can be an Oxford house.
Okay. Now, at the bottom of page 10, it says it is easy to find a good house for rent in a nice neighborhood. Agree with that?
Yes.
And you have how many Oxford houses in the area you cover?
There's 164 in Oklahoma. There's 58 in Nebraska, or in Missouri, and I have 96 in Nebraska. So that rough total, it's in the 300s. I don't walk around with that number in my head, but I do know what each state has.
And in looking at the website, it looks like there are 28 Oxford houses in the Kansas City metropolitan area.
Yes.
And
Now you're not counting. Am I correct? The number that's in my head is we're about to have 32, but you're not counting Gladstone or.
Yeah, I was counting Gladstone.
Okay. Platte, the Platte area and all that. You're counting all the outskirts.
I don't know if we got Platte City, but I remember seeing Gladstone and
yeah. Okay.
Raytown maybe.
That's correct.
So give or take roughly 28 Oxford houses in Kansas City.
Yeah, we just opened a new one and we have another one coming next month.
And looking at your website earlier today, it looks like as of right now, there are a total of 24 vacancies throughout the Kansas City area for people who want to live in Oxford houses.
I'm not aware of the day-to-day happenings and or numbers in those houses.
Does that sound plausible?
Sure.
And these houses are in, looks like Liberty, Kansas City, Independence, Gladstone, Raytown, Lee Summit.
Yep.
I don't believe I have any other questions.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
So, Mr. Miser, I understand you don't have any more questions for the applicant?
No, not at this time.
Do you have any witnesses that you would like to call?
Not at this time. I wasn't sure how we were proceeding on that.
All right. I would also ask, do council members have any questions of the applicant? Okay, hearing none. We will now hear the public testimony. So if you wish to speak, please come forward. State your name. You have had to sign in first, and the court reporter will administer the oath. Each speaker is sworn in by the court reporter. It also would be helpful to ask if you're speaking, are you speaking on behalf of the applicant or in opposition?
Yes, ma'am.
You solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, I'm going to try and not get emotional
Please
here.
state your name for the record.
Oh, sorry, Mandy Paul. I came from Lee Summit. I'm in the medical field, newly moved here about 6 months ago. In Excelsior, my husband and I fell in love with the town. I think this town has great things to offer. With growth comes different opportunities. I know a lot of people see Oxford House as a negative side. I'm going to share a part of my testimony. I'm not here on behalf of them. I'm here stumbling across this on Facebook, on the Excelsior page, and about 7 years ago, I got the phone call nobody wants to hear. My sister was asking me to come pick up my nephew, who is 3 years old. My sister was your all-star soccer player. Our parents are very well-to-do, ran their own business. She had gotten addicted to fentanyl and heroin. I immediately came and got my nephew, and my sister went down a very, very bad road. She was in and out of jail. And finally a judge said, let's get you to an Oxford House. Oxford House saved my sister. My sister will tell you today, if it wasn't for Oxford House, I would still be raising my nephew. My sister has a job, makes over $25 an hour. She is 6 years clean and sober. Her partner is 7 years. They both became a part of the board of the Oxford House. You can work your way up into, like they were saying, you have different parts of your house. You're a secretary, you're all of these different things. It teaches them to be acclimated back into the world, to get jobs. It gives you that sense. My sister made 2 people call emergency meetings, 2 people to drop, and both of those people dropped dirty and were evicted out of the house. These women want to stay sober. It means getting their children back. I went to the home to allow my sister to be able to see my nephew, and I wasn't going to leave. I was going to sit there and let it be a supervised visit. When I viewed the home, you will tell these women want this. I promise you, they are there because of their sobriety. And I get it. My sister stole. My sister did all kinds of horrible things. These women aren't there because they're just court ordered. They want this change. Again, you never know. It could be your child, your family member, your grandchild one day that you would want them to have this opportunity. And if you guys ever see suspicious things, I was talking to my sister and her significant other about it, and they were both telling me, you guys, if you're suspicious somebody's using at that house, you can call the Oxford Incorporated line, and you can call them and they will go in there. They've shut down houses before. They've, to where they can go in and wipe out the members that are in it and make new members because the house is a sick house. Missouri does not have enough houses. I promise you, my sister had to be on the Kansas side. There needs to be more houses, and I know there's drug addicts here in every city. They're here in Excelsior Springs. I see them walk the streets. let's give them an opportunity to have a place to get help. And again, I know everybody's going to see differently. I just hope that you guys just sit and think that maybe one day this could be somebody on the other side. My nephew is a thriving 10-year-old back in custody of my sister. My sister's partner has his child back as well. These women get to see their kids earn their custody back, and they're not a product of the system. I don't know, I'm in the medical field. I hope that you guys just hear that and hear my heart on that, and maybe it may sway some of you guys to think a little differently. So,
Thank you, Candy.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak? Court reporter.
You solemnly swear to tell the truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Please state your name for the record.
Michelle Anaya. Okay, my speech has absolutely nothing to do with the women who are rehabbing. I'm all about rehab, just so you know that. Our neighborhood is a wonderful neighborhood. We are very tight-knit. We are very helpful to each other. You need anything, you can come to any one of those houses and receive help. With that being said, I am here over the zoning and the other issues that arise from these things because my life too has been touched by addicts, positive and negative. So I'm going to throw my emotions aside and I just want to read you what I have. Dear members of the Excelsior Springs City Council, as a recognized realtor and resident of Excelsior Springs, I have a decade of experience advising individuals on land use regulations, compliance with federal housing, fair housing statutes, and the preservation of neighborhood integrity. I am writing to strongly urge you to deny the reasonable accommodation request submitted by Oxford House for the property located at 21 Don Street, or Don Avenue. This request seeks relief from the city's own regulations to operate unsupervised halfway house for up to 8 unrelated individuals recovering from substance use disorders in an R1 single-family residential district. While I acknowledge the important role of recovery programs in society, this proposal is fundamentally incompatible with the established zoning framework and would undermine the character, safety, and stability of the surrounding single-family neighborhood made up of only 16 houses. Under Excelsior Springs Code of Ordinances, Chapter 400, Zoning Regulations, the R1 district is explicitly designed to promote low-density, single-family residential development. Permitted uses are limited to single-family dwellings, public parks, schools, churches, and similar low-impact activities that maintain the quiet, family-oriented nature of the area. A family is defined as one or more persons related by blood, marriage, or adoption, or a group of no more than 4 unrelated persons maintaining a common household with shared kitchen facilities. A single-family dwelling is a structure intended for one such family unit, ensuring stability and compatibility among neighbors. The code also defines a group home as a residence for 8 or fewer unrelated mentally or physically handicapped persons, which may include up to 2 additional house parents or guardians. However, group homes are not permitted as of right in the R1 district. They fall under special uses that require a permit pursuant to Section 400.230, which mandates a public hearing, evaluation by the Planning and Zoning Commission, and approval by the City Council based on the criteria such as public convenience, health, safety, welfare, and avoidance of substantial injury to neighboring properties. Special housing for persons with unusual needs, including the handicapped, is similarly regulated under special use provisions to ensure appropriate oversight and integration. The Oxford House model, as described in the request and public records, operates as a peer-run, self-supervised, sober living facility where residents self-manage without on-site professional staff or oversight. This setup differs materially from the code group's home allowance, which contemplates structured support, such as house parents. The proposal seeks to house up to 8 unrelated adults, double the unrelated person limit under the family definition in a single standard family home, effectively transforming it into a group living facility without the requisite supervision or special permit process. Public records indicate unpermitted renovations have already occurred, raising additional compliance concerns. While the Fair Housing Act protects individuals recovering from substance use disorders as persons with disabilities and requires reasonable accommodations to zoning rules, such accommodations are not automatic or unlimited. Courts, including in landmark cases like City of Edmonds versus Oxford House, have held that municipalities must accommodate where necessary to afford equal housing opportunities, but only if the request is reasonable and does not impose undue burdens or fundamentally alter the zoning scheme. Here, denial is justified on several well-substantiated grounds. Number 1, incompatibility with single-family zoning and neighborhood character. Granting this accommodation would constitute impermissible spot zoning, allowing institutional-style use in a district reserved for traditional single-family homes. The R1 district's purpose is to preserve homogeneous residential environments that support long-term family stability, property values, and community cohesion. An unsupervised group living facility introduces transient occupancy patterns where residents may stay for varying durations based on recovery progress, which could disrupt this stability. Studies and zoning precedents from similar disputes, such as Oxford House versus Township of Cherry Hill, highlight how such facilities without oversight can lead to increased traffic, noise, and maintenance issues, adversely affecting adjacent properties. Number 2, lack of supervision and potential safety risk. Unlike traditional group homes that include house parents or professional staff for guidance and conflict resolution, Oxford House model relies entirely on peer accountability. This unsupervised structure raises legitimate concerns about relapse risk, emergency response, and neighborhood safety, particularly in a family-oriented area with children nearby. Resident complaints, as voiced in recent council meetings, include fears for child safety and unpermitted alterations that may compromise building integrity, while the FHA prohibits discrimination based on unfounded stereotypes. Denial here is supported by the code's emphasis on structured support in group homes and evidence from other jurisdictions where unsupervised facilities have led to code violations or community disruptions, such as the litigation in Oxford House versus City of Albany, where courts upheld denials based on specific local impacts. Number 3, no demonstrated necessity for this specific accommodation. The FHA requires that accommodations be necessary to afford equal opportunity. Oxford House has not sufficiently demonstrated why this particular location in an R1 zone is essential, especially when alternative zoning districts such as R2 or R3 for multifamily or group uses or sites with special use approvals could accommodate the need without straining single-family restrictions. Courts have denied similar requests where applicants failed to show that the accommodation is indispensable rather than merely preferable in Schwartz versus City of Treasure Island. Approving this would set a precedent for bypassing the special use permit process, eroding the city's ability to regulate land use consistently. 4, adverse impact on property values and public welfare. Empirical data from zoning studies indicate that introducing non-conforming group facilities in a single-family zone can depress property values by 5 to 10% due to perceived instability. The code's special use criteria explicitly require evaluation of such impacts, and denial aligns with protecting the welfare of existing residents. This is not discriminatory, but a neutral application of zoning principles upheld in cases like Oxford House versus City of Virginia Beach, where courts balanced FHA protections against local zoning integrity. Now, with all that being said, additional information personally, this is a very small 16-home neighborhood with only one road in, one road out, that is only accessed by State Highway 92. The home at 21 Don Street sits at the entrance to this neighborhood. The parking at that home accommodates only for vehicles comfortably in the 2 driveways that is demonstrated in the last year. When someone gets blocked in by another car in the driveway, they make choices and drive through neighbors' yards. Some of the neighbors have witnessed individuals walking through their yards to avoid walking along the highway. So this forces residents with different schedules to park on the street, which reduces it to a 1-lane road 24/7. Residents who do not drive are also limited by our location. With parking being reduced to 1 lane on the street, ambulance and fire services may be limited to access the rest of the neighborhood. We do have a couple of homes who have residents receiving hospice care. Oxford House Inc. also states at its website that they can change the purpose of the home from mother-child to any other such use as male only with the vote of the current residents. We will never know when the change will happen, as it is not required to notify the city or neighbors of this change in and what kind of offender resides in the home. So as I said, with children in the neighborhood, how do we know who is being placed in the home? Additionally, Oxford House Inc. does not vet or background check the residents they send to the home. It was already discovered that someone potentially with child abuse convictions may have been placed in the home for a short time. They do not require the homes to administer drug tests, but only to have a meeting upon suspicion of violation. Everything as far as attending AA meetings or any kind of counseling is a suggestion. It is not a necessity. The home handles situations themselves with no oversight. They can lead to illegal activities and violations if the residents are biased to a certain person living in the home. This particular 1,200 square foot home, I have tax records, it was 3 bedrooms before, cannot safely, as per building codes, house 8 individuals. As demonstrated in this particular home a few years ago, a fire broke out and the homeowner perished in the home. If the bedrooms are not code with egress windows, then it is a safety hazard to the individual staying in that particular room. That is not code for a legally permitted bedroom. A legal bedroom is 70 square feet, with 7 feet being one of the minimum requirements of the wall. I have personally seen what homes like this can do to a neighborhood. I am a realtor. I showed a home in a neighborhood that had 3 halfway houses within a couple of blocks of this particular home for sale. There were transient people sitting outside the home waiting for us to leave, trying to watch me with the combination lock, pacing. When police were called, they left. The neighbor told us that ever since the halfway homes were placed, they have had a huge increase in car and home burglaries, transient issues, and residents were having to go to extreme measures to safeguard their homes, including putting air conditioning units in cages to prevent damage and theft. It wasn't so long ago that the city itself removed a drug alcohol rehabilitation center from the downtown area on Excelsior Street as it was prohibiting growth and stability. Since then, the downtown area has grown and thrived. I myself am not against rehabilitation from substance abuse. I have family members fighting it now. But in my experience, it's sometimes used as an escape from a homelessness situation rather than an actual chance to get clean. These are people who fail in these homes and end up being removed. But what happens to the people who are removed from the home? What is the policy of Oxford House if they have no place to go? Our two-street neighborhood is not equipped to handle homeless people who have no right or place to go, as we are on the outskirts of town near county lines. We are not in the right location, nor do we have facilities such as sidewalks or even a shoulder on the highway close enough for individuals to make their way out of the neighborhood. You have to cross 2 highways to get to a gas station or travel half a mile across those same 2 highways to get to a Dollar General. The deceitful manner in which Oxford House has been operating without permits, they do have construction permits, but those were not for permitting group home situation. 8 unrelated individuals in a home does not give me or my neighborhood the confidence that they are willing to maintain peaceful and legal presence in our small and limited neighborhood. It does not convey the promise that they will follow rules, which is what their whole purpose statement is based upon, giving people who've broken a law a chance to follow the rules to rehabilitate. So maybe Oxford House needs to follow the rules from the first day instead of breaking the law and force their way into zoning changes. So I respectfully urge the City Council to deny this reasonable accommodation request.
Thank you, Michelle. Are there any other individuals who would like to speak?
I am signed in, yes.
Okay. Please state your name for the record and the court reporter will swear you.
Kelly Kincaid.
Raise your right hand. Solemnly swear to tell the truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Mine will be a little bit of a repeat from what Michelle said, so I do apologize, and I'll try to skip those sections, but. Can you hear me now? Okay, thank you. I just wanted to start off by saying that I do understand the value of the home, and I do know that they do good things for those ladies that live in that home. Lean in. Sorry. I just wanted to state that I do understand the value of the home of this nature and what it provides to those residents that live in this home. As Michelle said, this is an R1 neighborhood, and it is restricted in that neighborhood. My husband and I feel that one of the owners, Brian, had to see this early on when we first met him. Of course, as Michelle said, we are a tight-knit neighborhood, so we did go introduce ourselves to him and welcome him to the neighborhood. And during that conversation, we asked if he had planned on living there or if he was going to flip it. He said at that point he had not decided. After that time, workers had told two other neighbors in our neighborhood that Brian normally does the homes of this nature. So we really feel that he deceived us from the get-go. One of our biggest concerns is property value. Honestly, I would not want to purchase a home across the street from this type of a facility. We also have concerns with traffic issues and parking issues, as Michelle said. You know, when we moved into this neighborhood, we did not expect this type of transient situation. If it was a short-term rental, it would have had to gone through planning and zoning to get a special use permit prior to opening. That would have allowed our neighbors to have had an opportunity beforehand to have their voices heard, and it would have given us an opportunity to, dispute that we wanted that in our neighborhood. So we have actually tracked some of the movement at the home, and since November of 2024, there have been at least 26 changes in residents that we are aware of. And I'm not even counting the children. We did not realize that it was an Oxford house until March, so we were just noticing people move in and out. When we realized in March of this year that it was an Oxford home, then I started looking at the website. When I tracked the number of movements, I did not track the children. I just tracked, it says how many women opening, how many women, children opening. So I did not even count the children in that 26 changes. And we are not there 24/7, so we don't know how many people moved in and out prior to that time. We have concerns about safety of our property. There are so many people in and out, including men that come to visit. We have no idea who those individuals are or their backstory. We have seen Clay County Sheriff and Excelsior Springs PD there a couple times, as probably was mentioned before. The ladies there, they do keep to themselves. We've truly only had 2 conversations with 2 different of the residents that entire time that they've been there. We say hello from time to time when we see them out. One resident told us that they stay away from the neighbors because they don't understand what they're doing there and they don't want them in the neighborhood. That was actually the lady that had the comments made, and those comments were made from my home that the gentleman mentioned earlier. They were not made by my husband or myself. They were made by other neighbors that were there visiting. They were promptly told that they would not make those comments to those ladies, or they were welcome to leave and go back to their own home. We will not tolerate that. And I did tell the lady that the day that I spoke to her. We had a great conversation. I apologized to her. My neighbors should have been the ones that apologized, but it was myself and my husband. We haven't had many issues with the ladies or the children that live there. One of the residents did drive through the neighbor's yard, as was mentioned earlier. There was also a man visitor that came one time that got into an altercation with the lady. It was an argument from the porch to the driveway. Nothing you couldn't have seen at any other house in the neighborhood. But that gentleman also chose to drive through that same neighbor's yard. And we did witness it. I've got pictures, and we had other people that saw it as well. The poor guy's yard just keeps getting beat up by that property, I guess. We did have a gathering one night at our home. We had several friends that were over. We were inside. One of my friends parked on the street. She was the first one that got there. There were no cars across the street because I did ask. I said, please make sure you're not blocking the road. Later on that evening, we got a knock on the door. It was a neighbor from down the road's grandson. He asked if we could move the car because he couldn't get down the street. There were only 2 cars parked at the house across the road. None of them were in the driveway. Their driveways were completely empty. The 2 people decided to park on the street and block the road. My one last concern that I have with council is if you allow this home to continue to operate, how many other homes will come into our town? You are opening up for more to follow, as Michelle said earlier. What if this home is not run, the next home, what if it's not run like an Oxford house? What if that home is next to your home? What if that home is next to your daughter or your grandchildren's home? I just have concerns, and I hope you will hear our concerns when you make your decision. Thank you for your time. Oh, I did have one other statement. One of our neighbors is not able to attend, and they did write a statement, so I just need to know who to present that to. Would that go to you, Paul? Okay. Okay, thank you.
Would anyone else like to speak? Have you signed in? Please state your name for the record and enter towards the court reporter to be sworn in.
Cody Montroy. Cody. C-O-D-Y.
You solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Thank you.
I live on 8 Todd Street. First question I have is for all the council members up here. June 9th, the question was asked when I was on the mic that I asked if there was any permits on this that were ever given out. I asked Ms. McGovern here, and I was told no, there was no permits ever okayed on this. And that is on video, so I want to let's clarify here. I'm not trying to call you out, but if there's no permits.
Excuse me. Address your comments to
Okay.
the council.
Okay. So going off of what's been said before, per permits, enforcement amendments, and penalties here under the codes, that's basically is run off of city, state, national code. It's all the same. So if you look here and you can run through it, and I'll get to the point, that the variances granted will not alter essential character of surrounding properties. If that happens, then why was a permit given? That the granting of the variance will not be detrimental to the public welfare in the neighborhood in which the property is located. That was the permit granted. Here comes the best part of it all. If it is granted under violation, the person that did violate it should be penalized up to $10 no less per day and up to a max of $250 for each and every day that such violation continues, or the imprisonment of 10 days for each and every day such a violation shall continue until otherwise things are fixed. So there's that. So here, the useful information Mr. Jason Cole put out on the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Authority Development. Can a local government consider the fears and prejudice of neighbors in deciding whether a group can be located and protected in the neighborhood? Not all community opposition to requests by group homes is necessarily discriminatory. For example, when a group home seeks reasonable accommodation to operate in an area and that area has limited street parking to serve existing residents, it is not a violation of the Fair Housing Act for neighbors and local government officials to raise concerns that group home may create more demand for on-street parking with a typical family asks the provider to respond. Can a local government deny a group home's request for reasonable accommodation without violating the Fair Housing Act? Yes, the local government may deny a group's home request for reasonable accommodation if the request was not made on behalf of the persons with disabilities that are living in the household. Useful information here. Does the Fair Housing Act require local governments to adopt formal reasonable accommodation procedures? This act does not require a local government to adopt formal procedures for processing requests for reasonable accommodations to local land use or zoning codes. I think last one I got here. Can a local government enforce its zoning code against a group home that violates the zoning code, but has not requested has not requested a reasonable accommodation prior till now? The Fair Housing Act does not prevent a local government from enforcing its zoning code against a group home that has violated the local zoning code. There we go.
Thank you for your comments, Kevin. Would anyone like to speak? Please be sworn in by the court reporter and state your name for the record.
Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do. Good evening. Is this on? Can you hear me? I'm here to share my story.
Name, please.
Shannon. Shannon. Good. Good.
Good. Thank you.
I'm here to share my story about my neighborhood in Excelsior Springs that started with one group home and turned into 8. One being had 2 different families that turned into an 8th group home. It started with individuals like this gentleman is describing. It turned into numerous people, including up to 15 that Chief Warner knows back there of my neighborhood. I've had my life threatened. I've had many of our neighborhood threatened. We've had things stolen from our neighborhood. We've had drug addicts in our neighborhood. We've had alcoholics walking around. I'm not saying that these individuals might be trying to transform, but I'm appalled that this house already has people in it that weren't allowed to be there, as the people before Michelle kindly mentioned, that shouldn't be there right now anyways, because it's not zoned for that. So once you start out with one, you have continual problems like the problems that I've had. I still have three homes in my neighborhood that continue to give me problems in my neighborhood. The police cannot do anything about it. They have to catch them in the act. So I don't live in this neighborhood. I'm here to share my testimony for these people that live in this neighborhood. I have a question like the gentleman over here asked, but I have questions for the man that's here from the Oxford House. Am I allowed to ask him questions? Oh, okay.
You're allowed to make comments to the council.
Okay, well, then my comment is, just like the gentleman over there asked about eviction, because I don't understand if they're not allowed to live there anyways, but they are living there, they're paying rent. How are you allowed to get them out? We couldn't get these people out of my neighborhood. I personally had to get them out because the police couldn't help me. One person, one individual had to work on all of these people. It was 2 years of hell. Sorry I cussed, but it was. And I'm still dealing with 2 houses. I'm appalled that this city has allowed this already without permission of any sort. And they're not going to be, the reason why I say they were group homed, because it's the exact same situation that this gentleman has explained. Multiple people living in the home. There's multiple things that he has said while he's been here. First he said 4 adults, then 2 children, then a maximum of so-and-so. It's been multiple different stories here. I don't understand, I just don't understand the lack of preparation for this meeting. Because I have been in this situation and I just think it's ridiculous, and I don't think that this should be passed. I'm still dealing with this issue 4 years later. So I just want to say for these poor people in this neighborhood that I'm sorry, because it might turn into something that I'm dealing with right now and have dealt with for many years, that the police cannot help. And I get that the police can't help, but the police won't be able to help these people either. So that's my story.
Shannon, what is your address?
My address?
Yes.
103 Oakwood.
103 Oakwood in Excelsior.
Yep. Please know it well.
Would anyone else like to speak? Please face the reporter to be sworn in.
You solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Please state your name and address for the record.
I'm Chandlin Carr, and I live at 20 Dawn. I'm the one that lives the closest to the house. And I hear individuals coming in at night. Whoops. I'm doing the same thing everybody else.
Lean in.
Hi,
There you go.
I'm Chandlin Carr. I live right next door. And we have had a beautiful neighborhood. When I moved in 18 years ago, James and Kelly and Oliver, the man that died in the fire, we were very close. When we moved in, they came right over when my husband started mowing the yard, and that's the kind of people they are. And when my husband died, they were all there as well. I am alone, and I'm a widow, and with hearing about some of the incidents that have happened, it does bother me. They come in the middle of the night. They don't feel neighborly. It feels like a jail next door. It just does. You don't feel comfortable. I had one of the little neighbor girls that lives at the Oxford house here. It was 9 o'clock at night, and she was starting up her push mower and trying to push that yard that was tall. And she stopped after a little bit, but she had all day to do it. As far as I know, somebody should have been doing it. They canceled out the lawn mowing service, and the reason I know that is because my lawnmower broke down, and I seen the service that these people pull up, and I asked them if they would do extra work. And they said they would, and it was going to be their last time mowing over here. And that's why I know that. But I've been there 18 years, and we all are improving our houses and homes, and we put a lot of money. Our taxes are up $30,000 more dollars, they say my house is worth. And these individuals, I feel for them. My brother, I've been through heck. My brother was in and out of drugs, meth, all kinds of stuff. And I've had that pain in my life. And I know what they're talking about. What I want to say, the value will go down. People won't want to buy my house. It's right next door. And I've put a lot of work into it. And I don't make very much money, but I put everything I can in it to give it to my kids at the end of their life, to give something back. These individuals that are going to rotate in and out, they don't care that my value goes up or down. He's collecting a paycheck, and he didn't even he didn't give a crap about our neighborhood. He's just moving in. And if you let him move in, he's going to move on you too. There you go.
Someone else like to speak? Have you already signed in?
Yes, sir.
Please face the court reporter to be sworn in.
Hi.
You solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
State your name and address for the record.
Greetings, my name is Aaron Llewellyn. I live in Independence, Missouri, but I'm here to speak on behalf of Oxford House, if I may. If I may begin with, I've lived in this town for 45 years, 2 hills over, lived there for 30 years, and I was kind of a troublemaker my whole life. The man in the black suit and the back with there, he'd tell you that. But been a former drug user for 28 years, and been to jail. That didn't get me to stop. Death in my family. Rehab, no, nothing helped. And finally, I got so desperate, I moved into an Oxford house in Independence, Missouri. And the guys there, they saved my life. I've never known banking or living a normal life. I've just kind of always lived on the streets. And for the first time in 28 years, I'm 46 years old, and Oxford House saved my life. They've taught me how to, I'm the treasurer, and they've taught me how to operate banking. They've given me a structured way of living. I go to work every day now. I have a normal job. I have a nice new car. I have great friends. And the accountability, we hold each other accountable for everything we do. And some people in here made it sound like that Oxford House produces criminals. You know, Oxford House took this one off the street and made it into somebody, you know. And it was just a miracle that Oxford House is there to save my life. And as far as people moving out of Oxford, they're not going to be moving out onto the streets. Oxford has protocols that see that they get help afterwards to make sure they have a place to go when they move out. Forgive me, this is my first time ever speaking in front of a group of people in my entire life, but my love for Oxford House has driven me up here to get the courage to come up in front of a group of people and speak. And I just think Oxford House would be a great thing for this area. Like I said, I lived here for 45 years in this town, and this town needs one. You know, there's a lot of addicts on the street. I was one, and Oxford House it made a winner out of me, and I've seen it do it time and time again. And if there's a suspicion that somebody in the house is using, they eject them immediately. As far as visitors go, if an Oxford member has a visitor, they have to generally pass a drug test before they're allowed to enter. And if there's suspicion of that, then the member and the guest they're immediately expelled. And Oxford has shown me a structured way of living that I've never known in my 46 years of life. I never thought anything would take me off the streets, and Oxford House did that for me. And the group of friends I have there, we hold each other very accountable for everything we do. There's no friendship letting this slide, let that slide, I won't tell on you, there's nothing like that. And Oxford House made a winner out of me. And thank you for letting me speak.
Thank you, Aaron. Would someone else like to speak?
Oh, yeah.
You solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Absolutely. Thank you.
You've already did so much. Please state your name and address.
My name's Daniel Hahn, and I'm a recovering alcoholic and drug addict. And I understand everyone's concern. Myself, being a homeowner, I just celebrated on July 18th, 18 years of recovery. I have 22 felony convictions in 4 states, 7 of them from here in Missouri. I was given a 10-year probation sentence in Joplin, Missouri in November of 2007. I walked on foot to the probation office from Carthage, Missouri to Joplin. Through my journey of trying to get home to Wichita, Kansas, I found out about Oxford House. I moved into an Oxford House in April of 2008. Since that time, I became so thrilled with its possibilities and what it can do. I've dedicated my life to it. I understand the neighbors' concerns. And it is hard to explain to people how a group of addicts and alcoholics can help themselves. But what I can tell you is when you put us in an environment that we're proud of, we're no different than anybody else. Oxford House has saved my life, and your community needs it. And me as a regional manager who supervises the field staff and trains leadership in this area will honor this city and humbly make sure that that house operates as it's supposed to. You combine a recovery program, coming out of the court system, be given some treatment, whatever the case is, get accepted into an Oxford House. I would encourage all of you to go to look up Oxford House on Google and look at DePaul University's quarter century of studies on what Oxford House can do. And I'm living proof of their data. 20-some thousand people studied over a 5-year period. When you stay 18 months in an Oxford House, you have a 75% chance of never using or drinking again. And if it wasn't for the house that accepted me, I wouldn't stand here today. I do understand the neighbors' concerns. And I would encourage anyone, as long as if that house is able to be here, to come over and see how those girls are really living. They have a 75-inch TV in their living room. They have leather furniture. They have cable TV. They have refrigerators full of food. They have air conditioning. They have full-size beds that are pillow top, matching blankets and sheets, and unity of a family. Anybody has any questions about peer support, study it. It's one of the most effective things that rehabilitates people. We don't come here uneducated. We come here educated. And we just want to be a part of helping the citizens of Excelsior Springs, because I know for sure Oxford House saved my life. And the folks here in town, all I can say is that I humbly ask for acceptance to help your neighbors. And the promise that I can make to those houses in that neighborhood is that if someone uses or drinks in that house, they'll be immediately asked to leave and found a place to go. And I doubt other neighbors can make that same promise. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Daniel. Please face the court reporter to be sworn in and state your name and address for the record.
He's always swear to tell the truth, though. We have enough to do so with that.
You
My
can
name's-
take that out if you want to, so you don't have to bend over. It'll look painful.
My name's Joseph Colbrook. I live at 6 Todd Street down the road. I've lived in the neighborhood since August of 2005, so I've been there a while. I've seen this neighborhood go through a lot of change, but it's always been focused around small town American mindset of neighbors helping neighbors, watching out for neighbors, and trust. The night the house on 21 Dawn caught fire, the entire neighborhood gathered, concerned for our friend who lived in the house whose life was lost in the fire. We all hurt from that loss because we looked out for each other, we cared for each other, and we trusted each other. Now, Michelle and a lot of my neighbors have stated a lot of facts and a lot of codes. My piece is going to come more from kind of the emotion side of it, from what some of our neighbors are seeing and the lack of transparency. This is one of the major concerns I have with the development of 21 Dawn, the lack of trust and transparency. From my understanding and what I've seen, the entire process of rebuilding the house after the fire was done with deceptiveness and underhandedness. From the beginning, the builder intended to turn that house into one for individuals recovering from substance abuse, but we did not know that. As the house was nearing completion, this was learned by several of my neighbors who were told by one of the workers how they typically buy houses like this to turn into recovery homes. Up to that point, we believed it was going to be a rental. The plans were not told to the city until well after the place opened. The house was redesigned without approval and not up to city codes. They hid the reason for this house until they had opened it with the hope they would be able to keep it going and it would be too late to stop it. Now the company wants to request to change city rules. Why should the city or the neighborhood trust anything this company says it is going to do? They have done nothing to deserve the trust or support of this city or the neighborhood. Instead, they have shown they will do whatever they want, push their way through, and then demand adjustments to the rules so they can remain doing business after the fact. Is this what they teach their recovering patrons to do? How can we trust they will follow the guidelines, codes, and rules if this request is granted? How do we even know if this single-family dwelling that has already been devastated by fire once and has now been radically rebuilt to cram in potentially 8 non-related individuals, which we learned just a little while ago could be 11 if you add 3 children, is even safe for them to live in? Nothing in the entire process of rebuilding and establishing this home leads me to believe this company cares about what is right or will care in the future. My second concern is for the safety of the neighborhood, not necessarily for the people trying to recover, as I admire their desire to work to better themselves. but from the potential problems from outside the home. Whereas the women in this house are trying to recover and change their lives, there are obviously times when the people that used to be in their lives, when they use the substances, don't want them to leave. The location of these houses is public knowledge, so they can be found and draw unwanted people into our neighborhood. 21 Dawn is not in a busy location. Rather, it's perched at the top of 2 roads that do not have exits. With young children who often play outside with their friends, this is not a situation where we want the possibility of people with ill intent practically drawn to the neighborhood because of this house. Although my house is down the road from 21 Dawn, I do have to travel by the house anytime I go into town or I go to work, as it is the only route in and out of the neighborhood. In the short time this house has been inhabited after being rebuilt, and in only my times passing the house to either work or on errands, I've already seen police vehicles at that house 2 or 3 times. This is more than I have seen them at the houses in the neighborhood combined since we moved in. Granted, I have no idea why they were there, but it is worrisome that they had the need to be there several times in such a short time the house has been open. I want to conclude by clarifying that I am not against the people trying to better themselves or their lives. I've had family and friends who have battled various substance abuses, some who were able to beat their addiction, some who still struggle, and some who have lost their battle to the addiction. My concerns do not necessarily involve the current inhabitants or others who are trying to better themselves. Rather, my concern is with the reputation the company has already established by forcing this house into existence without following the proper steps and codes as established by the city. Because of this history of a lack of honesty and lack of transparency and a lack of ability to follow the steps, I feel this request to change zoning regulations should not be granted. Thank you.
Could we have a copy of your statement? I think that would be helpful. Thank you. Would someone else like to speak? Let's allow someone else to speak.
You solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Please state your name and address for the record.
My name is Jacob Stallman. I live at 2214 West Street, and I live right across 92 Highway from this house. I was unaware that the house was being used as a recovery house until a couple weeks ago on social media. I just opposed the use of the house for a recovery of 8 individuals? Was it 9? Oh, now it's 10, it's 11. I feel like there's a lot of dishonesty here. I don't oppose people trying to be in recovery to try to help themselves, but there's a lot of dishonest things going on, and I would just like to come up and voice my opinion that, this is a slippery slope. You let this house go, you open the floodgates, and there'd be no stopping it. If it goes south, and then they open another house, in this town. I got kids that play out in the street, and I just feel like there's a lot of unsafe practices. The house is not 1,800 square foot, it was 1,225 posted on Zillow. If there was 6 bedrooms added to that house, there's no additional windows added to the house. So how would that be safe to call that a legal bedroom? So I just would like to, let my opinion be heard. So thank you guys very much.
Anyone else?
Please always swear to tell the truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Please state your name and address for the record.
Hello, my name is Bill Westerheide. I live at 5 Todd Street. And just to back up a little bit, in September of last year, my house had a fire, and we were obviously going to be displaced. At that time, we noticed the work at 21 Dawn was nearing completion. My wife reached out to the ownership and asked if they were going to be renting the house, because that would be ideal for us to be 1,000 feet away from our house. We were told at that time that no, they were not going to rent the house, they were going to fix it up and sell it. That issue addresses the transparency issue that you've heard over and over again today. My understanding with the additional rooms, the building codes, non-compliant bedrooms, and other issues, the transparency, the above-board communication with the city on that particular location has not been sufficient, adequate, or appropriate. In my opinion, based on what Michelle mentioned earlier today, I think Oxford House would have a very, very difficult time showing the actual demand for that facility in that location. When she mentioned no sidewalks, accessibility issues, potential hazards to get to basic needs for anyone staying there without a vehicle. I just think that, well, I'll go back to the other thing. The last thing, you know, showing the need for that particular location, that house, that facility, in an R1 district when we already have R2 and R3 districts available in this town that would be sufficient for that particular type of facility is, and then trying to bully their way in by not being above board and transparent shows, I don't know what the right word is, but it does not bode well for the integrity of the company that's asking for this request. Finally, if we open this up, I just implore the city council, why would the city council potentially open the door for more situations like this when we have locations and zoning for these types of facilities to create or weaken our zoning districts and our zoning laws by allowing this to take place right here. So with that in mind, I strongly urge the city council not to approve. Thank you.
Anyone else? We got one.
You solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes. Please state your name and address for the record.
My name is Brick Johnson. I live at 1206 92 Highway, which... my name is Brick Johnson. I live at 1206 92 Highway. I own the house that backs up to the 21 Dawn, and I also own the rental house at 1218 92 Highway that backs up to the rental house, to the Oxford House. I am the guy that they had driven through the yard, and I've lived there since 1969. The house has been a 3-bedroom house, a bath and a half house. The house burnt. It was supposed to be rebuilt as a burnt, go back identical as the house was. With the burn and rebuild in Excelsior Springs, you're supposed to go back identical. So the codes that they used...
Rick, I remind you, you're speaking to the council.
The codes that they used, I know I'm coming after the city here, but they vaulted the ceilings. They did a lot of major work. They put bathrooms in. They put plumbing in for laundries and such. How does that get, they enclosed 2 garages, and when they did that, they had to build an extra garage. How do you get to put 2 bedrooms in a garage? Yes, they did put windows in there, but they're 4 foot up. They're not easily accessible out. I'm just wondering where our taxes are. How does a nonprofit get taxed? We pay high dollar taxes in town, school taxes. How does a nonprofit get taxed? Moving into a residential district, guys. Would you like it in King's Edition? No. We are a small addition. But you guys, there are zoning laws that you guys have. Please use them. Please use them.
Thank you. No, only one time.
Okay. I just feel like I've gotten more information.
You've already spoken. Anyone else? All right, at this time, we're going to take a 10-minute recess. For the record, recess begins at 7:34. We will resume the public hearing at 7:44.
I mean, the audit gave him a clean bill of health, but, I mean, the fact that they really just totally obliterated our code. All right. No, it's just making it 87,000 more. And they continue to grow. She's in Silver Springs, when I went to one side, there's like 44 if you count this one in the state of Missouri. Died yesterday, and so he's been cooking.
Hopefully he didn't lose all his wonderful salsa.
Well, not salsa, but all the berries that we picked all spring long, and then all the meats we have in the freezer. So he's been cooking for today, and I plan to have them tomorrow make jam because we had a bunch. We more than doubled our crop of blueberries this year, and so instead of making jam, we decided to freeze a lot of them. So we did. And now we got to make jam because I got a new one coming, but it's too late because things are mostly thaw. It's keeping them at like 5.
I don't have much space, but I have a little freezer out in my garage if you guys need an extra bags.
I think what we're going to do is cook what we can cook.
Get it canned.
And then freeze that once the freezer, so hopefully Friday it gets delivered. So, you know, this is the second freezer we've lost since we moved here.
So I won't tell you this, but my freezer in the garage, it looks like something from Neeva to Beaver, but it just runs.
Is it chest freezer? Is chest freezer? I think there's a difference between chest and upright. This is our second upright. Now, I did order a garage ready freezer this time to see if that made a difference. I just hate chest freezer. You never can keep them organized.
No, but I've got a little system and like, you know, when things go on sale, I can just like chop it full. Yeah.
All right, you guys gotta get back to work?
All right.
I'll stand back.
Can I have your attention, please? Can I have your attention, please? It is 7:46 and our recess is over. I call the public hearing back to order. Please take your seats. Given the scope and volume of information that's been presented this evening, both from the applicant and during public comment, I believe it would be appropriate to continue this hearing. The Community Development Director should be afforded time to fully review and digest what has been presented so that she can provide relevant and informed input to the council. I understand that counsel for the applicant may have traveled. Well, he didn't travel, so we were looking at the lawyer coming from Washington, D.C., but he didn't come. So We're going to get our calendars out at this time, and we're going to identify a mutually workable date, time, and location for the continuation of this hearing. Give us just a few minutes, and then I'll make some closing comments. Daniel? Daniel?
I would just need this
Don't mind, this is public hearing.
Be here.
This isn't closed door council hearing. Sir. Use the microphone, sir.
We are discussing a date for the continuation of the hearing.
Tax dollars too. Start there. Why is there continuation when Fernandez presented that this is no good, it should be done to finalize?
All right. We are going to schedule a continuation of this hearing for August 12th, 6 p.m. in this very room. So I want to thank everyone for coming this evening. Thank you for your comments. Thank you for your cooperation. Meeting is adjourned at 7:48.
Thanks for being a bunch of fun for us.
Robert, could you escort this gentleman out of the room, please?